joining us to this interesting panel discussion. First of all, I would like to invite our speakers to the stage. Stavriana Kofteros. Stavriana is among the first key persons who started building the entrepreneurial and innovation culture when the innovation in Cyprus, when we wanted to build innovation in Cyprus earlier. We have Karen Golmer from the US with 20 years of experience supporting research teams from MIT to commercialize their research. Katerina Pramatari, professor at the University of Athens and partner of Unifund. She brings together both experience from both worlds, academia and investment. Professor Malas, the president of the Cyprus Institute and formerly Minister of Health, who brings experience from policymaking and research. And Spyros Arsenis, manager in National Bank of Athens, of Greece, and director of the Business Seeds Program, where they support startups, including startups who come from universities. So we are here to discuss about how the role of universities in innovation, which is a very important theme now as we see some direction from policy making to for the universities to play a more important role in bringing research to the market. And without further ado, I would like to begin with our first question. What is the role of universities? Should universities focus only to produce research and teaching, or they should also direct their efforts in economic impact? And I would like to begin with Karen Golmer, who brings experience from a more advanced ecosystem, that of the US. And she also a very good collaborator of Cyprus Seeds, and she has experience on how to bring a program supporting the MIT to Cyprus.
You're probably not going to find any university that's going to admit they're not interested in commercialization. However, the balance I think you're going to find is going to certainly depend on the university and their strengths and the strengths of their technology licensing office. But if I take a look at some data from MIT in 2023, let's say they spent about $1 billion in research. Out of that $1 billion, they created 23 startups. So the point here is that took $43 million worth of research for every startup that they created. Now, licensing is a little bit easier. They had 115 licenses produced, so that's about $9 million in research for the licenses. So my point is, MIT is actually number 11 for commercialization in the US. And even at MIT, it takes a whole lot of research in order to start a company.
Thank you, Karen. And Professor Malas, you are leading one of the biggest research organizations now in Cyprus. What is your view?
Well, I will concur with Karen. Of course, institutions, research institutes are more heavily involved in research. And indeed, first of all, you need to create the research, and the research that is potentially exploitable. But one of the big problems, however, in a university or research setting is really to create the ethos, the culture, because the generators of new knowledge are clearly either advanced researchers or young researchers. So you need to create the environment for those advanced researchers or the young researchers to spin out of and move out of what we call the comfort zone and commercialize their research. This is where accelerator programs come in, but also universities themselves, the structures within The institutes need to be mature enough to promote that. And at the Cyprus Institute, having gone through some initial teething problems, shall we say, we've now developed a very mature system of commercializing and allowing also space for VC to come in. And VC is another, coming in is a very important parameter and in many ways a limiting factor.
Okay. But how easy is to create such a culture, the entrepreneurial culture, let's say,
well, it's
within
not,
a research organization?
It's not easy, but it's not very difficult. And recently, the Cyprus Institute have taken the initiative to link up with some key American universities, which are very innovation-oriented, MIT being one of them, and Columbia another one. And this is really to expose our researchers more into this big culture and also innovation thinking. And I think that the more we expose our researchers to that environment, the more we actually trigger the entrepreneurial, if you like, spirit and push them forward to actually develop, take the ideas into potential in the market. Because moving out of a research environment doesn't necessarily mean success. As you know, the success rate is quite small. So it is a challenge there too. But I strongly believe that this country is producing good research. What this country is not doing well is actually accelerating that research into monetization. And that's at least the Cyprus Institute, I think, will do much better than perhaps others.
Thank you, Professor Malas. Professor Pramatari, you have the experience in academia, you formed your own startup, and now you are investing in startups. What do you think about the role of universities today?
I think it's a different question, what do we expect from universities? And it's a different question, what can universities do? And in Greece, in Cyprus, I think all around Europe to a great extent, there is a very big gap between what we expect and we need universities to do and what they can deliver. And this is what we confront currently. In our university, for example, I have been one of the very few faculty members that have been through that process of startup formation, entrepreneurial journey. And having gone through that, I could realize how important it is to inspire young students, but also to help them develop the required skills and mindset. But if you do not have a very good understanding of that, how is it possible to develop the right curriculum, to inspire students in the class, to support all the acceleration processes required, or to build the right mentality and mindset? I think we need to address this topic in Europe, and very successful universities abroad that have done it, like MIT, and we have some examples here today, have really followed a totally different approach there. And a last important comment is that universities are not just research organizations. They educate and inspire the young talent. So we should look at both of these roles.
Thank you, Katerina. Stavriana.
Hi, thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for...
We talk a lot about mindset. So for me, the answer is all of the above. So it's education, it's research, but it's also economic impact. So you pump money into universities to turn money into knowledge, and then you need to turn the knowledge into economic impact, because if we're developing a new drug, why are we doing it? Why are we doing that research? To treat patients. So it needs to follow the commercialization pathway. We do talk a lot about mindset, but sometimes we need to, we need to be very kind of like realistic about it, meaning not all researchers and professors want to, should be, or even aspire to be entrepreneurs. They can be CSOs in a new startup that commercializes. So it's not about trying to teach a fish to climb a tree. It's figuring out what's best for this fish and what can we do to make sure that this research result finds itself in the market as an innovative drug or whatever it is they're doing. So it's about rethinking everything and making sure that it's not about making people feel bad about not being entrepreneurs. If they were entrepreneurs, they probably wouldn't choose to have a PhD. It's people that have fallen in love with a problem and they want to find a solution for that problem. And it's about teaching them that there is a way to do it and bringing that solution in the market and having economic impact.
Thank you, Savriana. So it's about changing the structures within the university and cultivating the entrepreneurial spirit, but also it's about changing the mindset and maybe defining better where the professors or the researchers can contribute to this process and what they can do and what they can't. Okay, so I would like to go to the next question, to our next speaker, Spiros. I know that we know that National Bank of Greece is supporting innovation, and I would like for you to tell us more how you do it and how you support university-based teams, startups, to bring their research to the market.
Well,
No.
well, great. Thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation. As you know, we are a bank. So what we do, we invest. We invest either directly in startups like Kove. You can find the name in your badge. Or in total, we have invested in 30 startups and SMEs. And also, we have invested in VCs like Unifund, Metavalon, Big Pie. We have invested in 12 VCs and also 14 private equity. We are the biggest investor of the region. And we truly believe that if we don't support technology transfers from the universities in order to make spin-offs and to commercialize the research, there is no future in Greece and in the whole region. In order to support this technology transfer, we have worked closely with many universities, among them with Katerina 15 years ago. And we created two programs. The first was Match and Develop a Startup, when we tried at the very beginning of the ecosystem to help startups make teams, and then to make the ideas, to develop the ideas and the business plan. And after that, again with the University of Economics, Athens University, yes, we have created another big program which is called Innovation Greece, when it's an annual conference, when we invite all the ecosystem players to discuss, but also to present what they did last year. So, to wrap up, yes, we truly believe that if the research is still not ready for spin-offs, but it's very, very crucial for the development and the survival of the ecosystem.
And allow me to ask, because, okay, one of the reasons why this panel is very interesting today is that all the speakers, they bring a diverse experience. We have people from policy making, we have people from the private sector, the academia, and this is important because innovation in general is a very complicated procedure, and you need all actors to have their own role and from their position to contribute to this process. As even the banks, they support this process. And I would like to ask, if I may, how is, when you communicate with academia, even universities or teams that are startups, research-based startups, do you see a difference in the culture, in the communication? Is it easy for a bank to collaborate with them? Because we are talking of different work completely. It's the banks, it's the academia, it's the public sector. all words have their own language to communicate and processes.
Although we operate the last 16 years, I dare to say that it's a very early stage ecosystem, the Greek one.
Another challenge.
And it's a real challenge, and we have to educate researchers to tell you what's happening. Greek researchers have real skills in order to have European projects and run them successfully. But unfortunately, they have no skills in creating spin-offs. And we have only, all these years, we have only one success story. It's Inoetics, who was acquired by Samsung. And this is, do we have other stories?
And Akisonus and Xenophodas from Crete and
Akisonus was not a research center, was it?
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
And some more, but okay, there are few.
There are few. We have to make more success stories.
And what it takes to have success stories, and I want to go to Stavriana and Katerina, who you are investors within your capacity. You select in which startups to invest. And I would like your opinion on what makes or breaks an academic startup for you. Stavriana?
Oh my.
With your role within the European Innovation Council, you select who will be granted the EIC.
It's blended finance, so there is, even though it's a grant and it comes from the European Innovation Council, it's also equity, so up to 15 million equity, so they do deal with it as a VC would deal with it. Automation, like, let's consider it on two pillars. On the one side is, of course, the team, the resilience of the team, how in love they are with the problem, and I will insist on in love with the problem, not the solution. And that means caring about your potential customer, whoever that is. If your customer is a corporate, if your customer is a consumer, or if your customer is a patient, whatever. But make sure that whatever it is you're doing, it's a painkiller and not a vitamin. And it's a must-have. It's solving a real problem that the customer really wants to solve and will put their hands in their pocket and pay for it. The other part is a bunch of things, including, apart from the team, which is essential, especially in the early stages of a startup, because what investors will be looking at, including the EIC, is to see the resilience, the grit, the adaptability, and how coachable, mentorable they are in pivoting when BIP hits the fan, because BIP will hit the fan down there. There's always trouble in paradise, in a way. So how are they going to react to it? How adaptable are they going to be? And then you have everything that has to do they know their market? Do they know their client? What is their cap table? And here, I would put an asterisk. It's important that, especially when we're talking about commercializing research from universities or research institutes, they don't take a lot of equity in the beginning, because that is shooting themselves in the leg right from the start. It becomes unattractive for investors later. It depends what terms they're down on the table. So the cap table is extremely important. It's better to have a tiny small percentage of something really big, of a billion-dollar opportunity, rather than 100% of nothing. So that would be very fast, my approach to this.
Thank you, Stavriana. And it's interesting that it's all about the team and the character and the incentives. Katerina, do you?
And you use the term academic startup, and I want to define this a bit better. Because with Unifund 1, we have invested in 23 companies, and now with Unifund 2 in another almost 14 companies. And we have 3 different categories at least that could fall under this topic. One category is university spin-offs. With Unifund 1, we have invested in 7 university and research spin-offs from universities and research centers. I think it might be another 7 or something like that, that are university-born startups. So they were companies that were born in the university incubator or in university incubators. They were out of students or out of competition supported by universities, out of all this acceleration process. There is a third category, the one we were trying to figure out with Spiros before, which is researchers or people I would classify under deep tech that might have done their PhD somewhere or they have strong know-how, but they are not a university spin-off, nor have they been supported, let's say, by a program around the university. So that's the third category. And then, of course, we have all the others that are startups, that are people with entrepreneurial mindset behind a problem and solution. And you said what makes or breaks. In all 4 cases, there is always one, I think, and it's the drive of the people. And to create a company, you really need to sell your products to the customer. In Greece, in Cyprus, in Europe, I think we feel guilty if we sell something, which is really a misperception, which is really bad. Yeah.
Now you remind me when I worked with Stavrianas to the incubator of University of Cyprus, and back then it was even worse. I mean, saying that you are an entrepreneur, it was considered to be a very bad thing, and we were trying back then to change this mindset and convince people that no, it's actually good. So, yeah, thank you. So let's move to the next question. Cyprus, as well as Greece, are in the initial stages of developing an innovation ecosystem, and I would like our speakers to tell us, is it wise to try and copy the MIT model, for example, or the Stanford model, or should we be doing something else better? And I would like to begin with Karen Golmer, who actually saw this process from MIT to Cyprus via Cyprus Seeds.
Well, and I think certainly you can start with a foundation from MIT, the Deshpande Center, which helped to get Cyprus Seeds started. I think Cyprus Seeds is a good example of taking, some of the best of MIT and being able to apply it. But Cyprus is a different unit. I mean, you've got a country that has a much smaller ecosystem, and in a way, I think it's easier to compete in this smaller ecosystem. If I take a look at all of the US and all of the startups, I mean, there are lots of cities and lots of ecosystems. If you take a look at Boston itself, there are tons of different ecosystems related to startups. And even within MIT, you've got an awful lot of activity. It's difficult to compete in that situation. Here, it's much different. I think you can do it much better by taking the best of different universities around the world, taking the best of different ecosystems and startup companies, like Cyprus Seeds.
Thank you, Karen. Professor Malas, I would like your view on this also.
So, well, innovation comes through 2 routes. We're mostly talking here about what we call outbound innovation, innovation coming out of universities and get monetized, which there are some key parameters in addition to mindset, facilitation to money access and so on. There are, I think, some key parameters that we need to consider. Universities, or particularly research institutes, but I think research institutes are doing a better job in innovation because of the nature, not making a statement that I may misconceive. You need, first of all, to create structures that promote transdisciplinary research. The biggest discoveries these days are on the boundaries of 2 scientific fields. So scientists like silos, and if they work in silos, then innovation generation will be limited. That's number 1. Number 2 is that you need to have key infrastructures to do it, which are relevant to modern world. And there are, in particular, two technologies, engineering and nanotechnology, material science is very transversal, plus AI, machine learning, all these sort of things. They are very pivotal, facilitating infrastructures that one has to have. Now, that's in relation to generate knowledge and, of course, taking it out. But this kind of model, and this is what we've been promoting at the Cyprus Institute, promotes what we call inbound innovation. And MIT is a very good example. Inbound innovation means that you can actually link up with companies that have an idea that they like to take further. So if you go to MIT, you actually see within a square kilometer, huge buildings built by companies sitting next to departmental units and actually facilitating that knowledge generation. So there is a very big gap, I have to say, and then there's also a mental and the way we engineer universities, that there is no linkage with industry. So if you don't link with industry, and particularly innovation-driven industry, and if you don't open your doors, give them access to your facilities, to your scientists, to your knowledge, you will never speed them up. So when we think about innovation, we have to think of these two models: facilitating your own knowledge to get out, facilitating others' inventions to also get out. And that's what we do. And I welcome everybody to go at the Governor's Beach. You know, next door we have a very big facility for energy generation and storage. There is the biggest investment in Cyprus in energy storage is taking place now in energy storage on the seabed in a very innovative technology. And this is an Israeli company that invested more than 10 million euros to come into Cyprus and essentially accelerate their technology. So that is what we should be doing, both.
Thank you, Professor Malas. And Spiros, what policy or mindset do you think we need to change in Cyprus and Greece so to help our ecosystems move faster?
Well, let me please comment on the previous question.
Okay.
I have a remark. All exits in Greek startup, all big exits or big acquisitions were made by companies outside Greece. This maybe proves that we don't have enough industrials to acquire companies in Greece. And most of the acquisitions were made by American companies. Mm-hmm. So maybe we cannot replicate models like the MIT model when the whole situation of the economy is not the same. We need to find new ways and more constructive ways to help the ecosystem. Now, to come back to your question, for me, we have to start from the education. In many Greek universities, for example, the Polytechnical School of Athens, they have no entrepreneurship course. Mm-hmm. For me, it's something very, very strange. So we have to start educating, and we have to start, and also, as you know, we have the offices of technology transfer in every university. You have to staff these offices with experienced people. We cannot staff these offices with people who has no market experience. For me, these are two basic points.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Spiros. Stavriana, you've been within the policy making of the innovation ecosystem in Cyprus for a long time. What do you think we need to change in terms of policy and mindset so we can move faster? You can be honest.
Policy. Can you hear me? Okay. Policy is an enabler. So let's just say sometimes we always talk about change and we try to have the perfect policy, but it's not about the policy, it's about what you do with it, right? So linking it with whether we copy other ecosystems or doing our own, first of all, we do not have to reinvent the wheel. We cherry pick things that resonate and things that make sense for this part of the world. There are constraints that we need to turn into opportunities. I mean, okay, Cyprus, for example, is an island in the southeastern corner of the Mediterranean, period. That ain't gonna change. It's not gonna get any bigger. Fantastic pilot market, right? You can pilot your startup here and then go abroad, go internationally, go into Europe. What you need is policies that will enable that and accelerate that. This is where policy is supposed to be an enabler and kind of like a fuel, and sometimes the best thing that a policy can do, or a government or the public sector, is just get the hell out of the way. Get out of the way and let the private sector, the innovators, the founders, the investors to drive it and take it into the market. So that's on the policy side, but that takes mindset. So I do agree with everybody. Everybody agrees that it's a matter of education, not only about training, but it's a matter of education, and it's a matter of, do you have a passion about something? Then follow it, make it through, and nothing can stand in your way in realizing that passion in whatever place you are, whether that is government and you want to do policy that supports the ecosystem, because as correctly said, ecosystem is everything. It's the universe that enables a startup to grow and scale, for example. I don't know, it sounds like very wise and wisdom. It takes a lot of pain to go through this, especially for the startups and trying to scale. But if I were to say one thing that I've noticed, even on a pan-European level, and even from the US, because I had the pleasure of doing my entrepreneurship development program at MIT, and I visited Yale, the entrepreneurship institute of Yale, and they said, tell me what you do in Cyprus. And I'm like, what? This guy is at Yale and wants to find out what we're doing in Cyprus? Like, I came here to learn. It's like, no, you don't understand. Not every place is like MIT. We are educating the next president of the United States. We're not big on entrepreneurship. So it's a different mindset. And it's just Connecticut, which is like, what, 2 hours away from Massachusetts, from Boston's? So it's a very different mindset there as well. And then you realize on a pan-European level that it doesn't matter where you are in Cyprus, Central Europe, or even France, a lot of the problems are the same across Europe. So it's a pan-European or a global issue. You speak the same language. How do you solve it? Talk with your tribe, find your own people, and you'll find people to help you through it, or good investors and advisors.
Thank you, Stavriana. And we have only 2 minutes, and I would like to go to the next round. The last question for all of you to tell us very quick, what is the one action that will most help universities be more effective in commercializing their research? I want to start from you, Ms. Spiro.
Yes, we need 3 things: good team, complementary skills, and a leader who knows how to go to market.
Thank you, Spiro. Karen.
I'm going to say culture. And that means really support the professors that are interested in entrepreneurship and celebrate the successes through companies like Cyprus Seeds.
Thank you, Karen. Stavriana.
Well, I said it before, to get out of their own way.
Stavriana. Katerina, do you agree?
I'll say 2. First, have entrepreneurs teaching students. And second, have every PhD student, whatever the topic is, to go through entrepreneurial class and technology transfer training.
Thank you, Katerina. Professor Malas.
Well, many of the comments were very correct, but I'll give you one figure, because not all universities are the same, which relates to this country, and this is important. If you look at the metrics for this country compared to all other European countries, the average researcher in this country is 6 times more successful in grant raising than the average European. And that's an asset. So if you are going to do something for universities, invest in your best asset in this country, and that is the people.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Malas. Thank you, everyone. And I think we will see now the questions. We have 3 questions, so I believe we have time to go through all the questions. I'm not sure. Anyway, what will it take for academics to work directly on real business problems, not just internships? What needs to shift to make this the norm, not the exception? I think we answered a bit this question, so I will, unless there is something you need to add.
May I add something? Let's add a course on how to sell in every curriculum across the country.
Even in history and archaeology
Even
course?
in medicine, in history, everywhere.
Thank you, Katerina. And what can we do in Cyprus?
I respond to the last one, Margarita, sorry.
Okay.
Time's up.
Sorry. Συγγνώμη. Karen.
I was just going to say something about can you hear me? Oh, okay, now. What would it take for academics? I think it's already been mentioned. The industry communication, I think, is really important, and maybe not internships, but how about sponsored research that will also further that connection?
Thank you, Karen. I think our time is up. So thank you, everyone, for listening. I hope you find it interesting. Thank you. I would like to thank the panelists. Thank you for this. And